Thank you so much, Rabbi Mark. I would like to come into the meditation today through the window of the letter Aleph. According to Sefer Yetzirah, an early Kabbalistic work, or maybe pre-Kabbalah work, Aleph is associated with the spring time that we're in now, and also the fall, so the intermediate times. And the meaning of Aleph, according to Rabbi Yitzchak Ginsburg, this is a wonderful book, very, very dense, but I try to take the essential points out of it and share it with people. To me, one of the most important things about the Aleph is that in the shape of the Aleph, we have an upper piece, which is seen as a letter Yud, and another letter Yud on the bottom, connected by a line which is seen as the Vav. And so I'll share the screen. We can look at the shape of the letter. So if you look at the Aleph here, there's the Yud on top, the Yud on the bottom, connected by this line. And the letter Vav, which is seen as this line, means and. So it's seen as a connector, and connecting the upper Yud and the lower Yud. And the upper Yud represents joy, represents well-being, represents connectedness, feeling good, and so on. The lower one is seen as bitterness, as suffering. And so the Aleph is really a perfect symbol for meditation, because one way to describe meditation in a very direct and simple way is that it's opening to the fullness of experience. Now, why would we want to open to suffering? Well, because it turns out that if we're resisting or trying to push away emotional bitterness or inner suffering, then that itself is not really getting rid of it, and in a sense it's creating more of it, because it's creating this inner tension in our nervous system. And if we open to whatever arises in our experience, then it can be felt and it can be released, and we can revert back and come more deeply into a place of inner openness and well-being. The well-being comes paradoxically from opening to whatever arises, even if it's not a feeling of well-being, even if it's suffering. And in this time, these dark and difficult times, it's so important for us to have these practical techniques for opening to our inner powers of healing. And so that's what Aleph is. And so the kavanah I have for Aleph is I am feeling. So opening to feel whatever emotions are there, and I am open, and I am openness, and we can chant this together. We also do in Torah of Awakening, we do body poses for the letters. So if you'd like, what I do for Aleph is just lifting up the hands like this into a gesture of openness. So you're welcome to do that. I'm going to play the harmonium, so I have to put my hands down, but you're welcome to stay in that position as we chant the affirmation, and then as long as you'd like to for the chant as well. I am feeling. I am open. I am openness. One more time. Opening to the words themselves, letting the vibrations of the words be felt in the body. I am feeling. I am open. I am openness. And a chant for Aleph. Affirming the unity of experience, that the outer world around us and the inner world of thoughts and feelings are all one experience arising in the one field of awareness that we are, which is itself a microcosm of the openness of what we call the divine, reality itself. From Yigdal. Echad ve'en yachid ki Sof yourself sing in your spaces, feeling the vibrations of the words. Echad ve'en yachid ke'yechudo ne'elam ve'gam en sof ואין יחיד כייחודו לעולם וגם אין סוף לאחדותו. And preparing to come into meditation, just a reminder to let your body be in a comfortable, alert position. Let your hands be relaxed, unencumbered. If you're holding your device, it's better just to put it down. Let your hands be relaxed in your lap, however is comfortable. And bringing forth the attitude of offering your attention as an act of love, just as you would listen to a loved one who needed to speak with you, and you would give your full attention. In the same way, giving your full attention to the fullness of whatever's present right now in experience. It's what I call the portal of the heart. Bringing your right hand to your heart and anchoring in this attitude of offering attention with the offering word, lecha. Deep breath in. Lecha. Left hand to your belly as well. Feeling awareness down into your body, releasing the stream of thinking, feeling into the inner body, awareness permeating your organs, flowing down through your legs and feet and toes. And also rising up, chest, shoulders and neck, arms and hands and fingers, taking a nice conscious breath. Movement of the breath, drawing awareness more deeply into the body, feeling into your face, facial muscles, brain and nervous system, bringing a little smile to your lips, being the benevolent, loving, indwelling presence, life in the body, and anchoring with na'aseh. Deep breath in. Na'aseh. Right hand to lightly touch forehead, left hand on the belly. Awareness opening out into the space around you, resting on the vibrations of the sounds in the air, the support beneath you, the feel of the room, and recognizing that your perception of the space around you, as well as your perception of the inner space of thoughts and feelings, are all arising within the one field of awareness that you are. Vast and boundless, without border or without shape, you are this field of consciousness. And affirming with V'nishma, deep breath in. V'nishma. Kissing your fingers, relaxing your hands back to your lap. Rabbono Shel Olam, help us to meditate deeply and effectively. Help us to remember the kavanah of being the open space. Thoughts come, feelings come, let them go. As we anchor the mind in the tefillah, At Yahu, you who are not separate from everything and anything we encounter, you who are not separate from this awareness that we are. At Yahu, you are the divine. Chanting first out loud. At Yahu, At Yahu, At Yahu, At Yahu. resting the mind in the repetition of Atyahu as we come into silence for just about 10 minutes. together. Give your body a little stretch. Echad ve'en yachid keyichudo ne'elam ve'gam ein sof le'achduto echad ve'en yachid keyichudo ne'elam ve'gam ein sof le'achduto. And closing the meditation, once again bringing your right hand to your heart, offering attention with Lecha. Lecha. Bringing left hand to your belly, feeling awareness, consciously inhabiting the temple of the body, Na'aseh. Na'aseh. And bringing right hand to lightly touch forehead, opening to the space around you, knowing yourself as the open space of awareness itself. V'nishma. V'nishma. Kissing your fingers, relaxing your hand. May we integrate this power and practice of the Aleph to open to what is present and to know ourselves as that openness. Oseh shalom bimromav, hu yaseh shalom aleinu v'yako Yisrael, v'yako yoshvei tevel, v'yimru amen.
Thank you so much, Rabbi Brian Yosef, Schachter-Brooks. Beautiful practice to bring us into Shabbat together. Friends, if you're leaving us now, I just wanted to give you the lineup for next week, but this is the time that we take to seal our practice by offering an opportunity for those in mourning or observing a yard site to recite the mourner's Kaddish, or if it's your custom to join, you're welcome to do so. And if you're not, to please stay present for those who are. Thanks to Rachel Huguet, who's holding our text space today, for sharing the words of the Kaddish on the screen. You can put the names of those you are remembering in the chat now or after you recite Kaddish. Rachel, if you made it just a little bit larger, that'd be great. People might have a hard time saying. And if you're reciting the Kaddish, I invite you to join me by rising in body or in spirit, and you can unmute at this time. Yitkadal, Yitkadash, Amen Rabba. Amad Yivrach, Yivrachei, V'yamlik Malchutei, V'chaye Ton, V'yomechon, V'chaye B'chol Beit Yisrael, V'agala, V'tzarid, Shmei Rabba
Shmei Rabba mevorach be'olam ulamei amayim.
Yitadar, V'yitalel, V'yishal, Ela Mikol Birchata V'Shirata Tush B'chata V'Nefeshata V'Miran Ba'al
Amen.
Eish Lama Rabba Israel Yiseh Shalom B'Rama Shalom Aleinu V'Yakol Yoshvei Tevel
Amen.
Amen. Friends, thank you so much for being with us today as part of this community, this community of healing and grief and hope and of practice. Just beautiful week of practice we've been blessed with. And if you're leaving us now, I want to wish you a sweet and restorative Shabbat. This was a beautiful way to enter into it. Thank Rachel for holding our space today, our tech space, and thanks to Rabbi Brian Yosef Schachter-Brooks. And Brian, if you don't mind putting your link to your website for the Tour of Awakening again in the chat, that'd be great. And again, want to thank Susan Kainer for sponsoring today's practice in loving memory of Peter Fernald. Zichrono Livracha, may his memory be a blessing. And Susan, thank you so much. And if you're leaving us now, as I said, we hope to see you on Monday. Rabbi Jenny Solomon will kick off our week of practice. The yoga studio will be open at 11 a.m. as always, and we hope to see you then. And if you would like, you're welcome to stay on for conversation with our teacher for today, and or to continue just to use this time and space and this community as a container to sit with your own practice and sit into Shabbat as you like. If you have a question, please preface it by writing question in all caps. Oh, let me see. Well, right. So Yiska Smith is leading next Thursday, just to answer your question. So next week's lineup is Rabbi Jenny Solomon Monday, myself on Tuesday, Rabbi Sarah Brandis of Awakened Body Wednesday, Yiska Smith Thursday, and a week from today, Rabbi Robin Damsky. And that is the book, Rabbi Yitzhak Ginsburg, The Alphabet.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, it's
All right.
quite a tome.
Well, you do a beautiful job of making it accessible for us, Brian. So thank you so much. Oh, okay. Well, there's a great question here from Lori, as always. So let's start with that, and then I have a question for you. Why do you start with Naaseh before Nishma? Naaseh means we will do. Nishma means we will hear, we will listen.
Yeah, well, that's a question for the Torah verse itself. That's a classic thing that a lot of people talk about because it's when the children of Israel are at Mount Sinai and Moses is receiving revelation, and they say "Naaseh v'nishma." We will literally means we will do and we will hear, but it is often translated "we will do and we will understand." Sometimes it's translated "we will do and we will obey." But in my work with meditation, it occurred to me at some point that this is actually a wonderful phrase for meditation as well. If we understand "Naaseh," we will do. Doing is with the body, and so I'm using that word in order to hint to ourselves to bring our awareness into our bodies. And then nishma means we will listen, but I'm understanding it as we are the listening. In other words, we are awareness. We are the awareness of the body and also the awareness of everything else. And so this is actually a good sequence to go in for meditation, because when we bring awareness into the body, it's a very natural way to still the mind and to let go of our really identification with thought, because we tend to experience ourselves as an entity inside of our bodies thinking about things and feeling things. But when we consciously put our awareness into the senses, into our physical bodies, then very naturally there arises a sense of spaciousness. That's the paradoxical point, is that we're putting awareness in the physical, but that gives us a very spiritual feeling of spaciousness, because the way I understand it is because what's happening is we're shifting identification from being the thinker into being awareness, and awareness itself is spacious. It has no shape, it has no boundary, it has no border. It just takes the shape of whatever it is that we're perceiving. And so after we do that, after we put our awareness into the senses and the body, then we can start to get that sense of being awareness, of being spaciousness. And that's the Vinishma part. So what I'm trying to do with these opening 3 portals, we just talked about the second and third portal, but all of them are having this effect of giving like a foretaste of the fruit of meditation, keeping our eyes on the prize in a way, because meditation has a certain effect when you sit long enough and practice consistently enough that these experiences unfold naturally. But even if it's your first time meditating, you can keep your mind on what you're really looking for. What are you supposed to be doing? This is what we're supposed to be doing. It's very, very simple, but these are helpers to, like, first of all, offer awareness from the heart so that we have a very kind of natural, non-aggressive, soft, not trying to get somewhere, but just giving from the heart awareness. And then more technical, putting awareness in the senses, and then feeling the feeling of awareness itself. And that's what the 3 portals are, and why I use those Torah verses.
Thanks for unpacking that. That's beautiful. So there's also a question just in terms of the practice. You end up ending with the kissing of the fingers. how would you describe the function of that?
Well, what I like to do is all of the things that we're doing are based on traditional practices. So there's a traditional practice when you put on tefillin of touching the tefillin and kissing your fingers in a number of different places in the davening, and so I just incorporated that into this practice as I developed it uh,
It's a
because it's a way to bring that piece into the meditation, and it's also an expression of the attitude itself.
I think it's a beautiful thing, and it also, I mean, it makes me think about the other instances in Jewish practice, including touching the mezuzah. Some people touch
Right.
the mezuzah and kiss their fingers, kissing the Torah when it passes, taking the tzitzit and touch, they're kissing.
Yeah.
It's a big kissing religion, Judaism.
Yeah.
Um,
It is.
there's something about especially there, it's about intimacy, but I was thinking especially about the mezuzah in what you're talking about, which is that just as the Vav is that connective piece, right, between the upper yud and the lower yud, as you were describing it, each threshold and right, is another portal, right, where like we're paying attention
Right.
to those portals. So
Yeah.
I'm all in. Um, your question, what are your thoughts about being in our body? Well, you kind of just said this really, right? What are your thoughts about being in our bodies while connecting to the infinite, to the Ein Sof? If I can try to like, yeah, I think you
Yeah.
just answered that,
Yeah.
but let me regurgitate it if I can in
Yes.
words and
Yes.
see if I got it. We're starting with ourselves, starting with our own experience. That the idea, I think, of like leaping to this kind of, expanded awareness, you can't like just jump to that in a way. We have to start with where we are and what's what we can apprehend for beginning, and we just start with ourselves and our bodies, right? With the heart, with the body, and then expand, and then we realize, just like in the opening slide with the Aleph, what do you have? Uh, Before we are open and we are openness. What's before that?
Oh, feeling. I am
Feeling.
feeling.
I am feeling. I'm
Yeah.
feeling. Right. So start with the feelings, and you also began your teaching with that about the Aleph representing this idea of um, of the yin and yang, of the pleasant, the unpleasant, the
Yeah.
joyful, the painful, and the necessity of encompassing it all. Right? It's almost like
Absolutely. Yeah.
the Aleph is kind of a yin and yang there, really,
Yeah.
where
Yeah.
the Bob is the curvy line, and so we start with that. We don't reject we'll say, oh, I just want the bliss. I just want to be in the light of awareness and, take me out of the pain. So I think it's really important what you're saying is that I guess there are traditions for doing that, but this is not what we're doing here. We're not doing a spiritual, not to be pejorative about it, but we're not doing there's no bypass, right? We can't avoid, as you were saying. And particularly for times like this, I think it's extremely important to lift that up. So I want to invite you to, I mean, you gave us a particular methodology, but for people who are, in pain, suffering for any number of reasons, whether it's personal loss, illness, etc., not to mention the world in which we live right now, um, can we like go a little deeper into that idea of the lower yud? How to notice that, how do we, like, we could quickly go through that and say, I'm going to get to the good stuff, to the expanded awareness. Um, and of necessity, we have to do this meditation fairly quickly, right? Starting with the heart and the body. But if we had longer time, if you had an hour to spend on each of those things. So let's say if we were spending an hour focusing on the middle one, I guess, the body, right? And the feelings that are present in the body, which could include pain, agitation, constriction, you name it, right? Suffering. Um, uh, what do you suggest in terms of letting the light of the, how to make use of the Vav in that case to sweeten the bitter or the sourness of that
Yeah.
word? All in 4 minutes, Brian. You got plenty of time.
Well, to me, I rather than saying a specific kind of practice, I think the most important part is learning how to notice how we resist our feelings inwardly, because it's a very kinesthetic thing. It's not necessarily an intellectual thing.
Mhm.
We can do it intellectually also, like move our mind away from that and distract ourselves with such and such. But there's a feeling of when a pain arises, that there's a natural tendency to kind of like, oh, I don't like that, and move our awareness away from it or into something else. And
Mhm.
so to me, the practice of meditation, like if you're sitting for an hour, that's great. Although, even just sitting for 20 minutes, I think is
Mhm.
really good.
Mhm.
If you're sitting for that time, then probably a number of things are going to happen within that period that you're sitting. As those of us know who do this, various streams of thought will come up, various concerns, and also sometimes the feelings that we tend to avoid will present themselves to us. So it's not so much about like figuring out how to dig them up, although of course there are ways of doing that, and that some therapies are like that, where you start thinking about things that you avoid and you talk about them, and that brings them up as well. But in silent meditation, the important thing, in my view, is to have the attitude of openness. To first of all know intellectually, I'm going to open to whatever feelings are coming, and then as they come, to not do the normal default, but rather to just open it and let yourself feel it. And I would also just say that this also relates to the question about Ein Sof, because Ein Sof, it's such a great word because really it means there is no end. That's what Ein Sof means. And so that's actually a great description of awareness, because awareness is aware of all the forms of feelings, forms of thoughts in our mind, forms of everything around us that we perceive. Those are all finite things, qualities that we perceive. But what is it that's perceiving all of that? If we try to feel into that, what is that? You'll notice it really doesn't have any shape. It doesn't have any form. It is Ein Sof. It is without end. It's like more like a field of openness.
Mhm.
And so, paradoxically, if we want to get to that bliss, we don't have to. We get to the bliss because the field of awareness that's non-resistant resonates on the level of feeling as bliss. So we have to, in order to get to the bliss, we have to be able to open to whatever pain is there, because it's the openness that's blissful, not the resisting.
Right.
But we will feel pain, and especially if you're in a period of loss, like if you lost a loved one recently and you're grieving, or other things, just our involvement with the horrors going on in the world today. It's There may be a prolonged period of pain, and I would say that that's the main place for faith.
Mhm.
I don't talk, meditation is an experiential based practice. We don't need to believe in it. We just need to practice it and do it, and get the effects of it. However, if every time you meditate all you feel is pain, it can be disheartening. And so in that case, I would just encourage everybody, stay with it. It may take months, it may take longer, but through the practice, you will, get you're digging a well, so to speak, and the water will come.
That's thanks for everything you just said. That was just great. That was great. And I think I hope very helpful for people. Wonderful to be with you, Brian. I want to wish you Shabbat Shalom. You're a couple hours behind here. Hope it's a
Yeah,
beautiful Shabbat for you.
yeah.
Uh,
Shabbat shalom.
And Rachel, thank you so much for holding our space. Susan, thanks for sponsoring us today. Everyone should have a sweet restorative Shabbat. We'll see you back here on Monday with Rabbi Jenny Solomon, everyone. Be
Can I
well.
say one? Can I say one little plug before
Please,
we go?
please.
Actually, next Tuesday night, I'm beginning a 14-month course, which is a basic Judaism course from an awareness-based perspective. And there's more to it also, but you can look at it at torahawakening.com. So just
Thanks.
if anyone's interested.
Good. Glad you mentioned that. Okay, everyone.